Welcome to Locales Unknown. This podcast gives you the tools you need to choose your next travel destination and the tips you want to be able to explore like a local. Here are your hosts, Chris and Winfield.
So welcome back to another episode of Locales Unknown, everybody. We are going to be doing part 2 of our Brazil excursion today. So we picked up last time, we were just leaving the Amazon and we were on an overnight flight down to Sao Paulo. And then from Sao Paulo, we made our way into Rio through the cloud cover and the fog to land in Santos Dumont Airport, which is the airport within the city in Rio. And as soon as we got out of the airport, I remember there was some consternation about trying to find an Uber, and you just realize you're back in a big city and everything's coming at you quickly, right, Chris?
Yeah, we would go from jungle and then all of a sudden to one of the biggest cities around. So I thought that was pretty cool. And of course, you can't just skip over the fact that we had an entire night on an airplane. This was after sleeping in the jungle. So we haven't seen a bed now for 3 nights. And, the trip just kept going. So we got into Rio. We were trying to figure out where the Uber is for anyone who's listening that might go to the same airport. I don't know. The best I can describe is just go out of the airport, make a left. Hopefully that works for you guys. But anyway, and then this was my first time in Rio. So although I was exhausted, I was just extremely excited. I did get to see a little bit of the city coming in. And it was funny because I was in the very last row of the flight. And I remember it was jam-packed. It was a pretty rickety plane. It was definitely old. My armrest was broken. My tray table was broken. But whatever, who cares? It was a short flight. And I come in and I see, while we're making our descent, I see just the sprawl of Rio and the beautiful mountains, the landscape, everything. So I was super excited. So I left the airport door just looking around. And right there was Christ the Redeemer statue. And it was off in the distance, but it was pretty cool because that's one of the modern 7 wonders of the world. Everyone knows it in Brazil and also around the world. It's so iconic. So to be able to just come out in a little bit of a haze from the night before and see this beautiful statue was awesome. And then we made our way through town and got to wander the streets a little bit after leaving our stuff in the hotel. And we got to try one of your favorite places, Winfield, in the area. And it's an iconic bistro that even the man himself, Anthony Bourdain, has visited. And it's Colombo. Is that right?
Like the capital of Sri Lanka.
Yeah, there we go. And it was great. We didn't get to go to the downtown location, which is more of the iconic one, but they had one in our area. We were just staying right next to Copacabana. Remind me again of the neighborhood.
Yeah, we were in between Copacabana and Ipanema.
That's right.
Excuse me for all of our Brazilian listeners because I can never pronounce that correctly. But yes, we were right near the fort there. So there's a Colombo location that's right on the peninsula, but unfortunately it's only open on the weekends. So also listeners, if you're there on the weekend, check that one out because it's definitely beautiful. We went to the one closer to Leblon.
Yeah, and it was great. And it was nice to actually just sit down in a chair where you're not cramming in like in an airplane that we were in for the night before or the Uber that we were in before that. After that, we kind of wandered the area. I know you and Vivi have been there multiple times. That was your 3rd time there, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. But that was my first time. So to be able to walk Copacabana Beach, this iconic area, just to be able to see the sights and feel that I'm in Rio was pretty awesome. And then we were kind of exploring what to do for the day. And, jumping ahead, we only had basically 2 days there. So we wanted to pack it as much as possible. So Winfield, you made the suggestion of going to one of the places that have always been high on your list, but unfortunately we were just entering a little too late.
Yes, exactly. So we made our way over to Parque Lage, which is a beautiful park kind of right at the base of the Tijuca forest and where things really start in terms of terrain to get a little steep. You can actually do a hike from there all the way up to Christ the Redeemer. And there's a beautiful museum there that was actually one of the former palaces of one of the monarchs of Brazil. Unfortunately, we got there, as Chris mentioned, just a little too late in terms of getting in the door. And you also have to schedule online. It's free, but you do have to open up an app and go through the motions and schedule a time slot. So that's unfortunately we weren't able to enter into there. But what we did see just walking around, these absolutely fantastic trees, the massive circumference. It looked like 4 or 5 trees in one. We saw this amazing grotto, which had just been carved out of rock. It looked like something that we saw in the Amazon that was in the middle of Rio. I remember we both commented on that. And we saw monkeys scurrying along the power lines. We came upon this place that to me looked like something out of Jurassic Park. It was just this waterfall with massive boulders. To be in the middle of a bustling city like Rio and to feel like you're in the middle of a tropical forest, that really kind of set the stage for the trip. And I know, Chris, I had been pretty high on Rio and pretty high on Brazil going in, but that might have given you a preview of what was to come, huh?
I thought it was awesome. And, I can't understate, or I should say overstate, how exotic this area was. So we just came from the Amazon, but when we were walking around that park, I felt like we were more like in a jungle than in parts of the Amazon that we just came from. So the trees that you were describing, the mini grotto cave area that you were describing, the waterfall, it's hard to really put into words how much it really had an impact and how beautiful it was. All set within this bustling city, as you mentioned. I mean, everyone knows Rio, but you don't really think so much about the ins and outs, the hikes to all these various mountains, which we did the next day, which we'll get into. But it was definitely a good taste for sure. And then after leaving there, the day kept on going. I'm trying to remember what we did, Winfield. We left the area. Oh, and then we tried to look and see how much time we had. And I know you guys have been to Rio before, but I wanted to go to Sugarloaf Mountain. You guys suggested that too. So we hopped in the Uber. We made our way over to Sugarloaf. And for those of you listening that don't know it already, go ahead and give it a quick Google. It is incredible. So I got to take the dual cable car. So you go up one cable car to the first area, amazing lookout, beautiful surroundings, 360 view of Rio out into the ocean. And then you take another one up to the second mountain, even higher lookout point, and it was just absolutely gorgeous. Fortunately, the clouds were parting and I was there right at sunset. So I got amazing views. I believe they're up on our Instagram. If they're not, I'll try to put them up before this episode airs. But yeah, it was something special. And at that point, I had a huge smile on my face, completely forgot about the exhaustion that I had from not sleeping and being in the Amazon and all of that. And it was just worth it. Sun started to set. The colder air started to come in. I knew that things were just great. It was a great feeling. I made my way back down, met up with you guys, and then we made our way over to a place where Winfield wanted to head to, and it was where the flights of cachaça was. And at this point, I couldn't even think about taking more alcohol. But why don't you tell us a little bit about that cool place?
Indeed. So yes, while Chris was checking out these picturesque views, I was doing push-ups and pull-ups down at the base on the beach, just biding time. There are workout stations all over Rio for all of your exercise nuts out there. So you will be able to use your body weight in order to provide some resistance. But yeah, going to Academia de Cachaça, another place that we had seen on Netflix. Somebody Feed Phil, if anybody watches that show, he went there with a couple of Brazilians and proceeded to get pretty sloshed on camera. So not that we were going to do that on a Monday night, but I thought, Chris has tried some cachaças. Let's see what else is in store. So they have a flight there, which is a little bit difficult to find out about if you don't speak Portuguese. Even though we were speaking in Portuguese, we just kind of stumbled upon it across the menu by asking the waiter. And there really isn't a direct translation of flight. Experimentar, experiment would be the infinitive verb if you're looking for that, and just kind of make a small portion to kind of signify a shot, and hopefully you can find it. But yeah, what I wanted to try was some pretty rare cachaças, some that were made in Rio State itself. And they were indeed very good. I wouldn't put them on the same level as Minas because I'm biased, but they were tasty, and they come with a little snack. They come with pork rinds and a few other nibbles. And from there, we were trying to find a salad, and we stumbled upon this place with Vivi that was really, really tasty. Much more of a gourmet salad than I was expecting. I was expecting something like a chopped, but we just stepped into this restaurant that was packed chock full of people on a Monday night, and we just proceeded to have this huge gourmet salad and very good cocktails too. Wasn't it a Sicilian lime or something? It's a really good pitcher of cocktails.
Yeah, it was really, really good. And also, that was the first time I ever had to show my Vax card, COVID Vax card, in order to get into the restaurant. Now, you hear about that here in the States in certain cities, but I've never had that experience firsthand. So I was a little bit shocked to have that in Rio. But fortunately, we were all able to get in and proceeded to enjoy the drinks, enjoy the salad. Thank you, Vivi, for finding that restaurant. That was a nice cat to the great first day in Rio. And then after that, just made our way back to the hotel, had a quiet night, finally in a bed, which was awesome. And then we woke up to a jam-packed day the next day, and it started with some hang gliding, and this was awesome. So we managed to book it the day before. I believe it was through Vivi's friend that had a connection and put us in touch with the person. He had some slots. We worked out the pricing. And Winfield in a second, he's the one that has all of the old text, so he'll get the name of the company for you. Shout out to them. But anyway, we wake up, we have an early morning, we jump over to the place we're supposed to meet them, take care of all the paperwork. And whenever you do events like this, bungee jumping, skydiving, hang gliding, whatever, there's some paperwork, there's some logistics you got to deal with. And then we jumped in the car, and that's really for me when the adventure started as far as everything hang gliding wise, because it was this little rally car with the massive kite hanging off the top, of course, rolled up. And we have to make our way all the way to the launch point. So, of course, if you're hang gliding, you need to start from a high position. So we're going all around these windy roads, and it's a small rally car with this kite that's on the top, but it's about two sizes the car length. And I'm thinking, man, if this guy takes a too wide of turn, he's going to get caught on some of these trees or hit a truck or whatever. And it was just all around. It was really cool. So then we finally get up there, and, we didn't know at first whether or not we were going to be able to do the hang gliding because the weather conditions weren't the greatest. There was a lot of cloud cover, a lot of wind. When we got up there, it was just complete fog. We saw the ramp, which led to nothing but a cloud. So you couldn't see Rio, you couldn't see what's out there, and people were actually preparing to jump already, or take off. And so we just got there right in time and looking around. And these people they started running, and then boom, they go and they disappear into the clouds. Now, usually there's a big buildup when you have events like this. Like, I've done skydiving numerous times, and you have to wait a while. You see a lot of people go before you. You see people land. So you kind of build that excitement, like waiting in line for a roller coaster. But this happened so quick, man. Like, within 10 minutes, I think, Winfield, you were strapped in. You got your mini lesson about how to run off the cliff. Don't hold on to anything but the guy's shoulder and the one rope. And next thing I know, he's telling you to run as fast as you can, and you're disappearing into the clouds. And then I'm up next. And of course, we had different experiences. We weren't together on the same one. But when I went, ran off, got into position. I mean, it was so cool to be able to do that. And then as you're floating in the clouds and it's settling in, the fact that you're only being held on by this kite and a couple of straps and hoping the guy that's in charge knows what he's doing. You're in the clouds, you can't see anything. And before you know it, everything starts to part and you get low enough below the clouds and Rio just opens up and you see everything. You're so high up. These buildings that are just massive when you're down on the beach are tiny, and you realize what you're doing. And the whole experience was incredible. I love things like that. Landing on the beach was awesome. So that's why I wanted to kind of explain it in detail for anyone that's looking to do this. Of course, it's well known in Rio. Make sure you hit these guys up because they were awesome.
Definitely. As Chris said, you have to check it out. It was a very short, condensed tutorial, and then all of a sudden you're running off. It's exactly how it happened. And yeah, at first you think, oh, you're just free falling, but it's really not. I mean, it's what did they say, 1,800 meters or something? So a little over 3,000 feet, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're doing it, it's a totally different adrenaline rush. But yeah, you can really see all the way out to Sugarloaf, fortunately through the cloud cover. And there's a golf course down there. There's a little bit of everything. So amazing experience. Definitely check it out. So from there, we went over to Vidigal, which is one of the safer favelas. And we had talked about whether or not we were going to do this hike up to the top, because Vivi and I had done it before with a guide first thing in the morning, but we had never been there during the heart of the day, because now it was about 10:30, 11 in the morning. So we decided to do it. The hike up to Dois Irmãos, the two brothers, cannot recommend this enough. You have to do it. Just getting into the favela and negotiating a moto taxi and getting up there is an experience in and of itself. And when you set foot in this favela, you realize that it's a self-functioning city. Everything is there. People don't really need to leave, because there's obviously a dearth of government services and a variety of other social factors. So you can really stay there and pretty much live your life undisturbed from the outside world. So we got up to the trailhead of this eco trail, which is kind of, they drop you off right there. The moto taxi does, and you walk past this football pitch and kind of a gymnasium area, and you make your way up. And we didn't exactly bring, or I didn't. I don't know about you, Chris. I think you had better shoes, but I was wearing kind of dress sneakers with zero grip, and I didn't anticipate we'd be doing this. So I'm trying to scurry up these steep kind of boulders without any footholds. It was pretty interesting going up and down, and of course it was the middle of the day, so the sun was just beating down on us, and it was it was a hike up there, about 40 minutes, I'd say. Not too bad, but definitely bring water and sunscreen and prepare a little bit more than we did if you can. But we got to the top, and it was absolutely stunning. The clouds were kind of in and out, but we were able to get some fantastic pictures and just kind of look north from Rio, or sorry, towards Leblon and Ipanema, all the way out to pretty much Sugarloaf. So and then where did we go from there, Chris? We hung out for a while.
Yeah, so we hung out up at the top. Before we go too much further about Vidigal and the eco hike, do you happen to remember the name of the hang gliding company? Definitely want to give them a shout out. But while you're looking, let's set the scene again. So we made our way and traversed all of these boulders, finally getting up to the top. And Winfield said it was not an easy hike. It's not something that you can just do without any type of exertion. So it was a lot of fun, about 45 minutes to an hour up midday, opening up to beautiful views. And of course, anyone that knows about hiking or has done it in the past, it sucks on the way up most of the time. But as soon as you're at the top, all of that goes away, and you realize that this is what I just suffered through for a reason. So it was definitely like that. And then we just happened to see these guys hanging off the side of the mountain. And that was completely unexpected. It wasn't like we were going up there to meet them. They were actually practicing rappelling. They're not even usually at that location. But then we just struck up a conversation. They asked us if we wanted to try it. And of course, yeah, why not? And so Winfield and I proceed to rappel down the side of this mountain. And I don't speak Portuguese. The instructor only spoke Portuguese. One of the guys had very good English, but he was kind of organizing the group and everything. So I'm just like, okay, we're gonna wing it here. What's the worst that can happen? You just kind of walk backwards on the mountain, and it was really cool. Highly recommend these guys. While Winfield was talking, I was just trying to look up their Instagram. We'll get that for you as well, and put that in the show notes. Shout out to them. Real cool experience. And then we made our way down after that, and I think we made our way back to the hotel. At that point, it was kind of a chill time, a couple beers, celebrating a great morning. We hung poolside, trying to figure out what we want to do for the night. Vivi's friend was in town, so you guys went off and met her later on. I went off and did my own thing, kind of have our separate time there, got dinner separately, and then came back, met up. And then that's our Rio experience. It was a whirlwind of an event, but that kind of fit with our Brazil trip in general. Loved it. Winfield, you talked so highly about it, said it was in your top 5, maybe even top 3 cities in the world. I left Rio understanding why and wanting more. So I'm making my way down to South America. Brazil, I'm coming for you again sometime soon. And Rio, I will probably see you very, very soon. So then we rented a car and made our way over to Minas Gerais, which is the state. And that's where you are now, Winfield. And Vivi, of course, is from there, from the small town of Itaúna, just about an hour from Belo Horizonte. On our way, we stopped in Petrópolis, and this was a real cool city. So I know I said it before, but I'm going to repeat it again. I think this is one of my favorite cities in Brazil that we got to experience. And it just so happened to be because of the setting. So Petropolis was, correct me if I'm wrong on this, it was a resort town for the royal family back in the day. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. They're kind of summer escape, even though the humidity is almost just as bad there as in Rio.
But it was really cool. So there was a lot of European architecture. Maybe the word is Bavarian, kind of German style. But it was set up where there was 2 creeks or streams running through the river, a lot of lush greenery, and it just so happened the day was a bit cloudy, a bit overcast, some light showers. So it added this jungle vibe to it. And I don't know, it was something special after leaving the big city of Rio, having that hustle and bustle, this being a little bit quieter, more set into a mountainous terrain. Real cool. So we got to wander around a little bit, got to go to the brewery of Bohemia, which was awesome. Great food, great beer, nice little stopover there. And then proceeded with the rest of the 8-hour journey over to Itaúna, where I got to meet for the first time Vivi's mom, shout out, and the rest of her family over the next couple of days. And Winfield, when you went back, did you feel like you were back home then?
I did, especially considering, as you were just mentioning, that brewery, as if we needed more alcohol at that point.
Oh,
But no, we did. We made it. It was it's quite the road is an adventure. The road is in good shape, but there are lots of twists and turns, and you definitely have to have your wits about you. But no, we made it back to Itaúna. We got in about 10:30 or so, and normally at the end of a long drive, I like to crack open a brew or have something to kind of relax because the adrenaline's still pumping from the road. But this night, I just wanted to lie down. That was one of the one of the rare times where I was like, "We made it, and we're good." So we picked things up there the next day. I showed Chris a little bit of Itaúna. We drove around. Remember, I showed you the beautiful chapel here that also has its own mini Christ the Redeemer. And from there, we went up to the other side of the city, Belvedere neighborhood, and just kind of looked out. Showed you Prainha as well, which is the going out area. And then we decided later on in the day we were going to head over to Serra do Elefante, Elephant Mountain, which is where all of the kind of cell towers are on the top. So not the most, you can see it from in the distance because of the infrastructure. But we got up there and we're just fortunate enough to run into some paragliders. So we started talking to them, and we exchanged contact details, etc. And they were telling us about some of their techniques, how they fly, how they obtain the wind of the day, the weather conditions, etc. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, you did that in New Zealand already. I have yet to do that. So hang gliding, paragliding, different, but some similarities.
Yeah, definitely different, but similar in the fact that you're jumping off a mountain, you're under this piece of cloth, hoping for the best. Yeah, I got to do it in Queenstown, which was within my first couple of days of the start of my first backpacking trip back in 2018. Awesome experience. But this added a nice little flavor because it was something completely unexpected. It was really cool to watch. It looked like they were in some kind of training. So to see people just right from the start, I believe, you guys talked about how he offers tandem of flies as well. Speaking of tandem, I'm going to take it back to what we did in Rio. So, for those interested in hang gliding, I should also mention they do paragliding that we're just talking about as well, and it's called Tandem Fly Rio. That's their Instagram handle, Tandem Fly Rio. Really good, highly recommend. And then as far as the rappel, I really don't know where they're actually located. He seems to be all around the Rio area, but you can find him Rope Adventure Official. So Official is Oficial. These were two of the great experiences that we had. Highly recommend. But bringing it back to Minas, great time. Unfortunately, we weren't able to go with the whole family down to the waterfall, but Vivi, yourself, and I made the journey because the sun was setting and we decided to go take a look. And it was beautiful, as everything else was on our journey. Making our way back, though, was finally the time that I saw a poisonous snake out in the wild. So I do a lot of hiking. I'm currently located in Florida, known for rattlesnakes, cottonmouths, copperheads, all of that. Never seen one out on the trails. And I'm weird. I say unfortunately, but whatever. Finally, not even in the Amazon, but when we're driving back down the mountain, the Winfield just stopped short. And happened to have my GoPro going out the window, and I caught it too. And Winfield looks at me, he's like, "Did you see that?" I'm like, "Yep, I saw it." And unfortunately, we couldn't get out and find it. But looking at the GoPro, it turned out to be a coral snake, which is one of the most poisonous snakes in Brazil. So we saw probably, I would say, more wildlife outside the Amazon than we did in when it comes to Brazil. But anyway, great times. Later on in the night, we got to adventure down to town, meet some friends, hang out, enjoy more drinks, of course. And then the following day, we made our way to Belo Horizonte, which is about 45 minutes to an hour away from Itaúna, the major city in the area, and got to explore the Central Market, which was really cool. Another Anthony Bourdain spot there. And just spent the whole day because we were preparing for the final part of our Brazil trip, and that was a volunteer effort. So I know, Winfield, you were part of the organization and logistics behind that. So I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of talk about our volunteer.
Sure thing. So shout out to Amigos de Minas, friends of Minas, for having us and for accepting us as gringos. We had a fantastic time and really felt a great sense of stewardship and community outreach, being able to really see and be on the ground and help people directly. This city town that we went to is pretty much along the Bahia border. So we're talking about a 16-hour bus ride here. Let me repeat that one more time. It turned into almost 17 because along the way, our bus was filled with water instead of gasoline. Let me repeat that. The bus was filled up with water. So we had to do some quick repairs, had to be drained, etc. So yeah, this was we had to put the bus on a ferry at one point.
Another overnight adventure.
Exactly, just as if we needed one more for this trip.
Yeah.
But no, we showed up right 11 a.m. 12, and we just got straight to work. We had a quick breakfast, and we were just enlisted. We were carrying these what are called cestas, which is basically a package of essential food items, and we were loading up these various school buses to deliver these goods to various neighborhoods and underprivileged communities. And this first, the community that we were assigned to, we went out with Vivi's uncle. Shout out to Varley, and thank you for all of your hospitality and insights there. So we we went around with Farley, and he spoke with the locals there, and just taking stock of what was going on in the situation. Obviously, COVID's been very disastrous for a lot of people's economic opportunities, but also just seeing how they're doing. They try to come there 4 times a year, and with COVID, they unfortunately had to cancel a couple of trips. But we were also giving out Christmas presents to children, which was incredibly heartwarming. And I remember at the end of the day, or during the time, we had to cross. It was basically a slosh pit. Had been raining, and there was a lot of mud. And I actually fell in the river at one point because it was so slippery. So we, at the end of this day, we were incredibly. We just felt our hearts were warmed with gratitude and the human spirit. But we were completely drenched and covered in all kinds of mud and dirt and you name it. But of course, in true Brazilian style, the party never stops. So we had to go to the Posada to shower
for
up
me.
and yeah, and head over to the barbecue. And the barbecue didn't start until what, Chris? 11 p.m. or something?
Yeah, I think so. And again, we're going to go back to that 17-hour bus ride, no sleep, a full day's work, humid, nasty, and everyone's looking forward to a party. I'm looking around thinking, are you guys crazy? Now, thankfully, at this point, I didn't speak Portuguese, so not a lot of people spoke English, so they didn't understand me. Sorry, guys. But anyway, yeah, I called it quits. You guys went for an hour or more, and turns out some people spent all night out. But either way, I'm going to go back to what Winfield was saying. Thank you so much to Friends of Minas. Amazing experience. And Winfield and I were talking about this when he first introduced the idea while we were planning our Brazil trip and our itinerary. And of course, I wanted the experience. You know, it's always great to give back to wherever we are. We talk about that a lot on the podcast. So to be able to actually put actions to all these words that we have for you was important to me. Now, I didn't speak any Portuguese. And as I just mentioned, most of the people did not speak English there. So it was a very unique experience. I'm kind of an A-type mentality, control freak in a lot of ways. So when I'm involved in something, I usually like to get very involved. And it was humbling in the sense that I had to rely on you, Varley, and Vivi in order to speak to anyone else in the group. So I was just at the mercy of going through the actions, point and pick up and do whatever. So I tried to do as much as possible. Yes, it was a long day, but it was one filled with a different emotion than the rest of the trip had. This was an opportunity to truly make an impact on the country that's played host to us for the last couple of weeks. So that was very important and amazing. And to see the smiles on these kids' faces as they received Christmas presents and the families that needed the supplies the most, didn't matter how long the day was, we weren't going to stop until the very end. Now, don't forget, right before we got back, our bus broke down. And of course, you know, that just added an extra flavor. Our bus broke down, then the headlights didn't work, and we were going through these back roads with no headlights. We were sticking our phones out the front window to try to make sure that they had some visuals there, but we made it back okay. And then the next day, another day filled with volunteering. We went to a different town. We got to see a different crowd, but still the same, bringing the Christmas gifts, bringing the supplies, being able to give back. And it was just an amazing experience. You know, we got to see a different crowd. You know, most people, we talk about the night before we left for the volunteer, we were at the bar. Everyone's doing well. Everyone's having fun, drinks, normal life. Then we come here and we get to see everyone's in a more that volunteer spirit, that philanthropic attitude. So thank you very much, guys. We really appreciate it. Definitely can't forget the fact that Winfield stood up on the bus ride back and put a nice little plug for Locales Unknown in very Winfield fashion. Decided to let everyone know that we're on all of the podcast platforms, on Instagram, passed around the shirt. So thank you, Winfield, and thank you anyone that because of that is listening to this now. And then what was it? Another 16-hour bus ride back, Winfield. This time less breakdowns, thankfully, because I had to race to the airport in Belo in order to catch my flight to Sao Paulo. And that was where we parted ways. So I had my own little adventure in Sao Paulo. Anyone that is listening that knows me and knows the fact that I went to the wrong airport, 2 hours away from the right airport. Just to let you know, I made it back to the US. Everything's okay. It was an incredible time. And I got to say, at this point, thank you, Winfield, and thank you, Vivi, for showing me around. You guys definitely made the trip. Without you, it would have been an entirely different experience. You played translator. You were very patient. And everything that you mentioned about Brazil prior to me being down there was true. And then some. I can't wait to step foot back into the country.
Well, thanks for coming, Chris. I really appreciate it. And for anybody that is thinking about Brazil, we are always here for any of your questions, comments, concerns, whatever you want to know. We are happy to provide our insights. But thanks again for listening. This is a roundup of an amazing expedition, should we say. This trip had a little bit of everything. And can't wait to bring you the chronicles of our next adventure together. Till next time, folks.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode with us. We started this podcast in the hopes of shedding some light on the various destinations out there in the world that might be more off the beaten path. And we're hoping we're accomplishing that goal by bringing on our friends and our various guests to give us some insight about their various locations and what to do in the areas. So if you like what you hear, make sure that you follow us on all the podcast platforms as well as the social media platforms out there, because we're back every single week. I wouldn't want you to miss what we have coming up. We already have a couple great guests in the pipeline that we are very excited for, and I think you guys will be too. So we are on Apple Podcasts, we're on Spotify, we're on Google Podcasts, we're on all the other platforms. Locales Unknown. Go ahead and hit the search. When you find us, be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button. And if you're an Apple Podcast user out there, please let us know how we're doing. We're building this for you guys. So scroll down to the bottom of Apple Podcasts and go ahead and leave us a review and maybe some comments there. Also on social media, we are very active on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. We have our YouTube channel, so feel free to go ahead and drop us a line. We have our website, localesunknown.com. You can find all of our episodes there. And if you want to reach us directly, we have our email address, contact@localesunknown.com. Maybe you have some suggestions for us. Maybe you want to introduce us to someone that you think might be a great fit for the show. We are all ears. So once again, thank you so much for listening. We'll be right back here next week with another great episode somewhere out there in the world. Stay tuned.